What's going on, everyone? This is Eric coming at you live from just outside of Hartford, Connecticut. And today we have a video that I had planned to have go out in early August, but so I had it planned to go out for Tom Brady's birthday, but because I have a few other things happening on that day, I said, okay, I'm just gonna do this video now, get it out for you guys. This is the third installment of the Players Pick Before series. The first two were, of course, Mike Trout and the Steph Curry was the second one. So what I did is I really kind of tried to shorten this video. Obviously, Brady goes 199th overall. I'm not discussing 199 players total. I don't think you guys would want that. So I did try to shorten it. So I just kind of went with some of the key players that were picked. I couldn't discuss every single player that was picked, obviously. But without further ado, I'm just going to pretty much jump to the video. So, as you know, we all know who the 199th selection was in that draft, the 2000 NFL draft. It was quarterback Tom Brady out of Michigan. Now, do you know who went first overall in that draft? Is a good question. Before I started researching, I was thinking about, who went first overall in 2000? And I knew the answer, but I had to kind of second guess myself. I went through like three names, but my first name was the one I got right. So, do you know who the six quarterbacks who went before Tom Brady were? How did those players' careers turn out? Are there any other Hall of Famers in this draft? Are there any surprise picks in this draft? Let's find out. And of course, as always, we're going to start off with discussing the guy in the title, Tom Brady. So 199th overall, the New England Patriots select quarterback Tom Brady out of Michigan. So Brady actually, he started his college career as a seventh string quarterback. Now, he didn't want to go to Michigan necessarily. His first choice would have been a California school, but nobody offered him a scholarship, so he just kind of went to Michigan. He was excited, but he was the seventh string. Eventually, injuries kind of help him move up, and his play was cool. And of course, you have the whole players, graduating or declaring for the draft or whatever. So by his junior season, he becomes the starter. So 2 seasons on the bench. He went 20-5 as a starter in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Then he gets drafted 199th overall. So he did good. Basically, what would happen in college is he would be like quarterback one, and then another guy was quarterback two, and the coach would kind of put Brady out for half, and the other quarterback out for the second half of the game. And Brady became known as a comeback guy because he would go into the games, and the team would just rally when he came back into the games. So, basically after the draft, when Brady met Patriots owner Robert Kraft, Kraft had a pretty interesting, first interaction. He was quoted as saying, quote, "I still have the image of Tom Brady coming down the old Foxborough Stadium steps with that pizza box under his arm, a skinny beanpole. And when he introduced himself to me and said, 'Hi, Mr. Kraft,' he was about to say who he was, but I said, 'I know who you are. You're Tom Brady. You're a sixth-round draft choice.' And he looked me in the eye and said, 'I'm the best decision this organization has ever made. It looks like you could be right,' end quote. So that just goes to show you Brady had confidence right out of the get-go, which is always good, especially in a quarterback. So after a rookie year that really didn't see him play that much, he actually started as a fourth-string quarterback, and he eventually became the backup due to injuries. Brady goes into his second season in 2001, and in week 2 of the 2001 season, the New York Jets are playing the Patriots, and linebacker Mo Lewis of the Jets delivers a big hit on Patriots starting quarterback Drew Bledsoe. So Bledsoe suffers internal bleeding, and Brady has to step in. It was a legal hit. So if you want to see it, it is on YouTube. But what ends up happening is Brady takes over the starting role, and he wouldn't let it go. He just played so well from there on out. He struggles early, but he's a second-year player who didn't get much playing time as a rookie. So, as the season continues, he gets better and better and better, which is always good for a quarterback. He would lead the Patriots to a first-round bye, and then their first playoff game that he would play in was a very controversial one. It was the Tuck Rule game. I don't want to get into too much details on it. Ask your friendly neighborhood Raiders fan, Eagles fans of the AFC, if you will. Basically, what happens is the Patriots are losing, and the Raiders it's a snow game, and Tom Brady goes to throw the pass, and he gets hit, and he loses the ball, and It looks like it's a fumble, but the Raiders recover it, but the referee rules it's an incomplete pass tuck rule because he pulled back the elbow or whatever, and that's actually now it would be considered a fumble. They did change the rule. It's a very controversial thing. I don't really want to get into too much detail on it. That can get a video in and of itself. But yeah, so then he ends up, they win that game. They go to the AFC Championship game, and Brady actually suffers a knee injury, and Bledsoe takes over, and the Patriots would win the game. So you go into the Super Bowl, it's like, okay, we got this young guy Brady and our proven quarterback Bledsoe, and they actually go with Tom Brady in the Super Bowl against the greatest show on turf, the LA Rams, or sorry, the St. Louis Rams at that time. And as we know, Brady and the Patriots would beat the Rams in that Super Bowl. It was an upset. Rams were favored by 14 points, and the Patriots they beat them by I think 3 or 4 points. So then we get to the next season. So this was the Patriots' first ever Super Bowl win, and the Patriots would end up trading away Drew Bledsoe because they said, okay, we don't need this guy. We don't need him anymore. We have Brady. So Brady's the unquestioned starter. So in 2002, Brady throws a career high 14 interceptions. To show you how good Tom Brady is, he's played for 20 years. His career high interceptions 14. The Patriots go 9-7 that year, but they missed the playoffs. They're in a good division. And in 2003, the Patriots would go 14-2, and they would cruise into the Super Bowl. They would play the Carolina Panthers, and they would beat them. And in 2004, they go to the Super Bowl again, and they beat the Eagles. These two Super Bowls are marked in controversy. They both have the Spygate. I don't want to get into details on Spygate because I'll go on a rant, and I don't want to do that. So then we get to the 2005, and they still did good, but they lost in the first round, the divisional round of the playoffs in 05. Now we get to 2006. They go 12-4, and they lose in the AFC Championship game to Peyton Manning and the Indianapolis Colts. So Brady would now we get to 07, and the 07 Patriots. That was an amazing team. You had Randy Moss, obviously, a lot of good receiving options. First time in Brady's career, and they go 16-0 in the regular season. The team would set numerous records. Brady set numerous records, and as we know, they go on. They go to the Super Bowl. They play the New York Giants, and the Giants pull the upset. So it ended the undefeated season, keeping the Dolphins as the only team to go undefeated in the regular season in the NFL, not including ties. So then we get to the next year, 2008, and in week 1, Tom Brady suffers a torn ACL, so that ends his season. And he comes back in 2009, and he has a strong season, but the team falls in the wild card round to Baltimore. So he continues to set records through this time. He was the fastest quarterback to ever reach 100 wins, and he has the NFL record 26 consecutive home wins. Now, they would go on to win the 1 seed again in 2009, but the New York Jets, of all teams, pulled the upset against the Patriots with Mark Sanchez as quarterback. It's just insane to say that. But so then we get to 2011. The team goes 13-3, make the Super Bowl, and again fall to the New York Giants. So the Giants are Eli Manning and Peyton Manning are like Brady killers. Then we get to 2012. They go 12-4. They fall in the AFC Championship game to the eventual Super Bowl champion Baltimore Ravens. 12-4 again in 2013, but they would lose to Denver in the AFC Championship game. Peyton Manning again beating Tom Brady head-to-head. 2014, Brady continues to do well. They go 12-4 again, and they would go to the Super Bowl, and they would beat the Seattle Seahawks. So now they have 4 Super Bowls at this point. So then we get to May of 2015 when Deflategate findings come out and become public. So that's a bit of a mess again. So the team would go 12-4 in 2015, but they would lose to Denver in the AFC Championship game. The last time Peyton Manning would play Tom Brady, Peyton got the last laugh. So the Deflategate findings end up getting Brady suspended for the first 4 games of the 2016 season. Again, Deflategate's kind of a stupid one there. You can't do a Brady video without discussing Deflategate, so I'm going to put the part here on pause. So basically, what happened is in the AFC Championship game that season, the 2014 season, Brady and the Patriots would kill the Indianapolis Colts. But there was a point where there was a pass that was intercepted by a Colts defender, and he had the football, and he was touching the football. He's like, this feels a little soft. So he's like able. You're not supposed to be able to push the football in. If I had a football, I would show you. But they have to be pumped to a certain psi, pounds per square inch, and what ends up happening is they don't think it is, so they keep the football, but they don't say anything to the refs right away, which is part of like a problem. And after the game, they complained to the NFL, and they're like, "Oh, the football was a little deflated," and that's when all the memes came out and everything like that. But you know, my problem is it was cold outside, and I don't like the Patriots. I don't like Tom Brady, but I will say it was cold outside. It's New England. It's the winter. That's gonna make the footballs get deflated. And if it really was a problem, you should have said something earlier. And if it really, really was a problem, the Patriots were really cheating. The score was so lopsided, it didn't even matter. Like, there's no way the Patriots put up like 31 points because of it. 31 extra points because of it. But back into the story. So Brady, he was fighting that suspension that he got in 2016, but he eventually just said, screw it, I'm going to give in. I'm going to take the suspension. So he comes back with a fire, and the team would go 14-2 in 2016, 11-1 with Brady. And they would win that Super Bowl versus the Atlanta Falcons. I'm not going to get into details on that Super Bowl. I don't want to upset Falcons fans. So then we get to this. After that, he's announced to be the cover of Madden 18. And the Madden curse, you could say, strikes again. He goes 13-3 in 2017, but they would lose to the Eagles in the Super Bowl. They would go 11-5 in 2018. They would make the Super Bowl in a bit of an upset fashion. They did beat the Colts in the playoffs. The Chiefs in the playoffs. Nobody really saw that one coming. So they make the Super Bowl, and they beat the Rams in one of the most boring Super Bowls that I've ever seen. The most boring Super Bowl I've ever seen. Keep in mind, I'm born in '97. So I didn't see the Bengals there when they got blown out, or the Chargers when they got blown out. So then they go 12-4 in 2019, and his relationship with New England just completely deteriorates. We saw that a lot in the past couple of years. It's been going downhill. They lose to Tennessee in the divisional round of the playoffs. Derrick Henry just ran all over them. Brady couldn't get his stuff done. His last pass as a Patriot gets picked off. And he would sign with Tampa Bay for the 2020 season. He's going to be there through 2021 at least, unless he somehow retires after this season, which I don't see happening. So what's interesting is, he's going to try to prove that he is the greatest quarterback of all time, and it's not Belichick that's the greatest coach of all time. We will see what happens. It's going to be one heck of a year. So now I'm going to discuss the records that Tom Brady has. So, of course, he has most games won by a quarterback, 219. Most games with 2+ touchdown passes, 173. Most players throwing a touchdown pass to, 77. These are some crazy records. It shows longevity. I'm not going to name every single stat. I'm not going to name every single record, but so he has the best touchdown to interception ratio in a season, 28-2, which eked out Nick Foles' 2013, 27-2. Most wins on the road and at home by a quarterback. Only quarterback to have 3 consecutive games with 300+ passing yards, 3+ touchdown passes, and 0 interceptions. The oldest quarterback to lead the league in passing yards. Don't be shocked if Breeze ends up breaking that one at some point. Oldest player to win an NFL MVP. Oldest position player to be named first team All-Pro. Most career passing yards with one team. Most career passing touchdowns with one team. Most Pro Bowl selections at 14, which he's tied with. If he stays healthy through 2020, he's going to make it again, so he's going to break that record. Most seasons quarterbacking for one team. Most seasons as a passing touchdown leader in the league. Those are all his regular season records. So now we get to the playoffs, and he has the most playoff games played in and started and won So he's played in 41 playoff games and won 30 of them. That just shows you how dominant he is. Most consecutive wins in the playoffs by a starting quarterback with 10. That was when he was a rookie, 2001, 2005. So, that's when they beat the Rams the first time, the Panthers, and the Eagles in the Super Bowls. Most consecutive wins to start a career by a starting quarterback, 10. Again, broke that. Most career home wins by a starting quarterback in the playoffs. Most touchdown passes in the playoffs. Most passing yards in a single game, which actually was Super Bowl 52, which was the one that they lost. So it's kind of like a record that he probably doesn't care about. Most passes completed, attempted, most passes intercepted. Again, that's what's going to happen when you play in 41 games. So he's been intercepted 35 times in 41 games. That's pretty damn good. Most division titles won by a starting quarterback at 16. Most NFL Conference Championship appearances and wins at 13 and 9, respectively. Oldest quarterback to win an AFC title game, 41 years, 5 months, 17 days. And most multi-touchdown passing games, I guess. And most game-winning drives as well. So now we get to Super Bowl records. And he has the most touchdown passes in Super Bowl history, the most passing yards, most passes completed and attempted, most wins as a starting quarterback, most wins as a player, 6 and 6. Most passes completed in the first half of a Super Bowl at 20. Most passes completed in the single Super Bowl. Most passes attempted in a single Super Bowl. Most passing yards in a single Super Bowl. Again, Super Bowl 52. Most Super Bowl appearances at 9. That's not going to be broken for a while unless Mahomes and Reed can really just click. Most passing attempts without a single interception in the Super Bowl. He has it twice. Oldest quarterback to start and win a Super Bowl. Oldest player to win Super Bowl MVP. And most game-winning drives in Super Bowl history. So that is Tom Brady. So, yeah, obviously there's controversy with him, and we know that. So I just didn't want to discuss like I said, I don't want to touch Spygate. No, you don't want me going on a rant about Spygate. But now, who are the players that went before Tom Brady is the question. So obviously, I'm not going to discuss all 198 players that went before Brady, just the big names. So without further ado, we're going to jump in. So the first overall pick was the Cleveland Browns, of course, and they went with defensive end Courtney Brown out of Penn State. Yes, I know, Brown going to the Browns. So Brown had a very strong college career. He actually finished his 4-year career with the NCAA record, 33 sacks and 70 tackles for a loss. So yeah, it's a little surprising that he hung in the NCAA for the 4 years, but it made sense for him. He would declare for the draft obviously after his senior season, and he goes first overall. He has a productive rookie season, but it would turn out to be the best season of his career. His second season, he actually shows he gets injured a bit, and he does well. I think he only appeared in 6 games, but he had 4.5 sacks, so he showed potential, but he fell off a cliff from there. He just kept getting hurt, and he would only appear in 26 games from 2002 to 2004, and that was all for the Browns, of course, and this was due to injuries. Then he would go to the Broncos for 2005, and then he would retire after the 2005 season. So definitely not worth being picked over Brady, but, at the same time, the Browns are the Browns. It's the same team that let Bill Belichick walk. So, again, I'm not discussing every player, just big names. 9th overall, the Chicago Bears would select linebacker Brian Urlacher out of New Mexico. This is the only Hall of Famer in the class at this moment. Of course, there will be more inductions eventually. Obviously, Brady's going to be one of them. So, Urlacher was not used a ton during his first 2 seasons in New Mexico, but he would take off and dominate in his junior and senior seasons due to a new coaching change. He gets drafted, like I said, 9th overall. And he would take over the starting middle linebacker position for week 3 for the Bears, and he just took off from there. He never looks back. In 2002, he actually sets the Bears single season record for tackles in a season with 153. And he was a truly feared and respected. He just keeps dominating. He would win the NFL Defensive Player of the Year award in 2005. and he was very close to winning it again in 2006. He continues to be a leader on and off the field for the team. In 2009, he would break his wrist in week one, and it was a bad break. It was like really close to some major nerves, so he ends up missing the whole season. He has to wear a splint and just a cast for 12 weeks. Normally, a broken wrist is going to be like a 6 week thing, but it was such a bad injury. So this did kind of affect him. So he returned in 2010. He has a passion, and he would receive the Ed Block Courage Award in the 2011-2012 season because his mother had passed away, and he just took the team, and he just played so well. He suffers a hamstring injury in Week 13 of the 2012 season, which would end his season, and he actually would end up retiring after the 2012 season. Now, he was a free agent, and he called out the Bears general manager at the time. He said, "All right, they didn't really want me. They just talked to me, and they basically lowballed him with this horrible offer." And they just said he said it was for face, because it looks bad if you just say, "Hey, sayonara, one of our best players in franchise history, get out of here." 2018, and he does have the most tackles in Bears franchise history. So he's an 8-time Pro Bowler, 4-time first team All Pro, and 1-time second team All Pro. So now we get to the number 17 pick, in which the Oakland Raiders would select kicker Sebastian Janikowski out of Florida State. A kicker went in the first round. Only Oakland, only Al. That's all I'm gonna say. Only Al. So believe it or not, Janikowski wasn't necessarily that bad of a pick. Obviously not the smartest pick, but not a bad pick. So he had a well-decorated college career. He would actually win the Lou Groza Award, which is the best kicker in the NCAA 2 times. Now he kind of had a bit of a little bit of problem with discipline. So he gets arrested 2 different times for fighting, and one time for attempting to bribe a cop. Basically, one of his friends was getting arrested, and he said, "How much will it take so you can let him go?" And Janikowski was actually born in Poland. He immigrated to the United States. And he claimed later on, "Oh, I thought I could just pay the fine and we could just be on our very merry way." But all these charges end up getting dropped, so he doesn't serve any time in jail or anything. As a rookie, he would struggle with accuracy. He made under 70% of his kicks, but he would improve his accuracy dramatically. And he hangs around Oakland through the 2017 season and spends 2018 in Seattle before retiring. He made 1 Pro Bowl in his career. So you got a player who hung around for a solid chunk of 19 seasons. Again, not worth being picked over Brady, but still pretty solid, especially for a kicker. 18th overall pick, the New York Jets would select quarterback Chad Pennington out of Marshall. So Pennington set numerous school records in Marshall. He's the first quarterback drafted of the 6 that were picked before Brady. Now, he only made 3 appearances in his first 2 NFL seasons, but he proved to be a good player in the 2002 season, and he took a 1-4 Jets team and led them to a 9-7 record and the AFC East crown. Now, he would suffer a bad injury to his non-throwing hand in 2003, which really messed him up for the rest of his career. He used to do a lot of play actions, but he couldn't really do it anymore. He went from being an elite to okay at it. So in 2004, he began to have a lot of fights with the New York media. They would ask him a question, and he would give them a very, I don't want to say rude answer, but he was just getting sick of it. So 2005 was a wash. He had 2 shoulder rotator cuff tears. He suffered one at the end of 2004, and he suffered one in the middle of 2005, the beginning of it. So he really didn't play well. He rebounds pretty well in 2006, and his play would suffer in 2007. So he would sign with the Miami Dolphins for the 2008 season, leads them to an 11-5 record, and he would actually win Comeback Player of the Year in 2008 for the Dolphins, as the Dolphins would go from 1-15 in 2007 to, I believe it was 11-5 in 2008. So, that was a pretty impressive turnaround. He missed almost all of 2009 and the second half of 2010 with injuries, and then he's no longer on the Dolphins. He's attempting to come back, and he ends up tearing his ACL playing a pickup basketball game with some of his buddies in 2011. And then he just said, "All right, I'm done. Too many injuries." So he has two NFL Comeback Player of the Year awards, and he actually was the NFL passer rating leader in 2002. Not worth being picked over Brady, but he was a solid quarterback for about a decade. Now, if you're around my age, you know this guy. If you're younger, you don't know him. With the 19th selection, the Seattle Seahawks would select running back Shaun Alexander out of Alabama. Oh boy. So Alexander would leave Alabama holding 15 school records, including career rushing yards. Now, he had a quiet rookie season. He was behind some pretty good running backs, but he would burst onto the scene in 2001, his second year, rushing for 1,300 yards and 14 touchdowns. He would play even better in 2002, and he was he played even better in 2003 and 2004. He was becoming elite at this point. Now, 2005 was the best season of his career by far. He saw the Seahawks, make the Super Bowl. They would lose that Super Bowl to the Steelers, but he actually ends up winning NFL MVP. He was so good. He ends up getting named the cover athlete for Madden 2007, and the Madden curse strikes again. He would break his foot in early 2006, and he returned in late November. But this broken foot would kind of be the beginning of the end for him. His offensive line would begin to just get worse and worse. They kept losing good players, and this opened up Alexander to getting more behind the line of scrimmage, not able to protect yourself as well, not able to get open a little bit. So his stats suffered, and he would keep getting hurt. And he was, after the 2007 season, he actually gets cut by the Seahawks due to his bigger contract. He would spend a month in 2008 with the Washington Redskins. Then they would cut him, and then he just retired. It goes to show you, man, a running back is good, but running backs, they don't have long careers. And you can go from being the MVP 1 year to out of the league 3 years later. He was a 3-time Pro Bowler, 1-time NFL MVP. He was on the 2000s All-Decade team. So now we get to the 65th pick, a bit of a jump, where the San Francisco 49ers would select quarterback Giovanni Carmazzi out of Hofstra. Now, this one really hurt Brady because, he grew up as a 49ers fan. He grew up right outside of San Francisco. So Giovanni Carmazzi, he actually holds a lot of the records at Hofstra for quarterbacks. Hofstra no longer has a NFL team or a college football team, so he's probably going to hold those records. He's the second quarterback picked, obviously, but he actually struggles immensely, and he never plays a snap in the NFL. He would spend time in NFL Europe and the Canadian Football League, but after 2005, he just kind of gave up. He said, "I'm done." So not a good pick. I don't want to say wasted pick, but not a good pick. The 75th overall selection would see the Baltimore Ravens select quarterback Chris Redman out of Louisville. So Redman actually broke multiple single-season school records, and he helped turn around a bad football program. Louisville was a joke in the early to mid 90s, and Redman really helps turn him around. He's the third quarterback picked in this draft, and he would spend 4 years in Baltimore, including being a backup in the Super Bowl winning 2000 season, his rookie year, but he rarely played. So he would sign with the New England Patriots and the Tennessee Titans, but he didn't play for either organization. And after a year hiatus, he would join Atlanta back in 2007, and he hung around there through the 2011 season. So he was a solid player. People liked him, but he never really played all that much. He did have a couple good games in Atlanta, but yeah, again, definitely not worth being picked over Brady, but not the worst pick. Now we jump all the way to the 142nd pick, in which our Oakland Raiders, who picked a kicker in the first round, would select a punter. Yeah, a kicker and a punter drafted in the same draft before Tom Brady, no less. But they actually made a good pick here too, where they picked Shane Lechler out of Texas A&M. So, like I said, Oakland, come on, man, why are you picking a kicker and a punter before Brady? So he had a very good college career, and he was actually, a solid pick, like I said. He recorded at least one punt of 50-plus yards in 33 consecutive games in 2003 to 2005. He would make 7 Pro Bowls, and he was a 9-time All-Pro. So he spends, 2000 to 2012 in Oakland, and then 2013 to 2017 on the Houston Texans. So he actually holds the NFL record for average yards per punt in his career at 47.6. So he made the NFL 2000s and 2010s all decades team. So, again, this guy's a potential Hall of Famer. The NFL is very iffy about letting punters in the Hall of Fame. But, Lechler was a solid pickup. No Tom Brady, but still a solid pickup. So now we get to 163, in which the Pittsburgh Steelers would select quarterback T. Martin out of Tennessee. So he spent his first 2 seasons in college as a backup to Peyton Manning. And then he would step over, and he would have 2 strong seasons leading Tennessee. He actually leads them to an NCAA championship in '98 before getting drafted as the 4th quarterback picked. He spent 2 years in Pittsburgh as the backup. He has a brief stint in NFL Europe. He spends 03 on the Oakland Raiders, in 2004 and 2005 in the Canadian Football League, before just saying, all right, I'm done, and going into the coaching. So, decent career in college, but not an NFL player. With the 168th pick, the New Orleans Saints would select quarterback Marc Bulger out of West Virginia. So he had a few good seasons in college before being drafted as the 5th quarterback picked, and he actually does not make the Saints roster. They waive him. He spends a couple weeks on Atlanta's practice squad before being poached by the St. Louis Rams, and he actually plays well in St. Louis. He has a few good games in 2002 for the Rams, becomes the starter in 2003. At this point, Kurt Warner fell out of favor for them, so they get rid of him. And he continues to play well through the decade, but then in 2007, he struggles, and then inconsistent seasons in 2008 and 2009 see him leave the Rams. He goes to the Ravens as a backup for 2010, but then he just retires. He says, I'm done. I don't want to deal with it. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler. With the 169th pick, the Cincinnati Bengals would select kicker Neil Rakers out of Illinois. So he spent, the years 2000 and 2011 in the NFL, playing for the Bengals, Cardinals, and Texans, respectively. He made 1 Pro Bowl. At 174, the Chicago Bears would select kicker Paul Edinger out of Michigan State. He only played in the NFL from 2000 to 2005, and then he spent some time in the Arena Football League. And with the 183rd pick, the Cleveland Browns would select quarterback Spergon Wynn out of Southwest Texas State. He has an okay college career. I don't know what the Browns saw in him, but it's the Browns. He's the 6th quarterback picked, and he would only appear in 7 games as a rookie, starting 1 of them. And then he went to NFL Europe in 2001, spent 2 years in the Minnesota Vikings organization, 01 to 02, and then he spent 2003 to 2006 in the Canadian Football League before effectively retiring. But yeah, those are the players that were picked before Brady, the key players. If your team wasn't mentioned, congratulations. You guys didn't pick a quarterback before Tom Brady or a kicker before Tom Brady. But at the same time, it's too bad because you didn't pick a good player like Brian Urlacher before Tom Brady. But yeah, those are the players picked before Brady. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any suggestions for this video, for like another players picked before video, please feel free to leave them here in the comments. I will get back to them. If you don't, just feel free to like, subscribe, comment, anything that you want to say, go ahead. Yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Have a good one. Stay safe out there.